Tim says Raylan Goforth leaves and Justin Flo joins the portal. So Justin Flo, of course, the outstanding 5-star linebacker who is at Oregon, has suffered some injury issues, but when he's on the field has been a bit of a force. So I don't know if that's a direction that USC would want to go. Where do you think the positional targets would be? Not necessarily the individual players, but obviously defensive side of the ball. But how would you rank the units of focus in the transfer portal for this SEC offseason?
Line play, line play, line play. It's all about up front. And Larry Pilgrim made a really astute comment here just a moment ago, saying that Utah was able to play the long game against USC twice and wear down the Trojans over the course of 60 minutes. So another great point from Larry, because USC got up 14, and some teams, when they get down 14, they panic or they go away from their game plan. Utah stuck to the plan. Utah stuck to its formula under Whittingham, Ludwig, and Scally. And over 60 minutes, it trusted that the plan was going to work, and the plan did work. And so, that is something that USC needs to become. USC needs to aspire to that kind of standard where, if something goes wrong here or there, we lose a key player, we can stick to our plan, and with physicality on both sides of the ball, both sides of the line of scrimmage, we can stay the course and stick to our preferred plan for 60 minutes. So it's all about line play. Let's also just briefly touching back on the Pac-12 championship game. You didn't see Tuli Tuipulotu have much of an impact. Utah's offensive line was a brick wall that Tuipulotu could not get through. And of course, Tuipulotu, he can't do it himself. He needs other studs. Corey Foreman made the big play to seal the UCLA win, and there was a little glimmer of hope that maybe that interception to seal the UCLA win is going to finally unleash the beast. It's going to enable Corey Foreman to be that player, to be that highly touted all-impact recruit that USC hoped he would be when Dante Williams brought him in. No, didn't happen. Didn't happen against Utah. Corey Foreman just not ready to make that kind of impact yet. So you just need to fortify your defensive line and your offensive line with some bruisers, and you need to get that depth on the offensive line so that when someone like Andrew Voorhees is out, and of course Brett Nealon is done, late game injury, he's not going to be able to play in the bowl game, so he has played his last game for USC. When those kinds of leaders on your offensive line or also on your defensive line either get hurt or they're double teamed and they're taken out of the action, where's the next man up? Where's your other impact lineman to steady things and to fortify your roster in the trenches? So it's all about line play. Obviously they're over 1,000 players in the transfer portal already. This is just day one. Lots of stories to cover. So I know I'm going to miss plenty of stories, but one story I've already seen is that Alabama has 5 offensive linemen in the portal, 5 on day one. So you think that Josh Henson and Lincoln Riley could at least make a run at 1 or 2 of them. Now, I know that Alabama didn't have a great offensive line this year, but Josh Henson certainly did a good job with Bobby Haskins, the offensive line transfer from Virginia. He was a crucial piece of this offensive line over the course of the season when you had, Justin Dedich got injured for a little bit in the middle of the season, week 5, week 6, Arizona State, Washington State. Haskins was able to be a bridge there. Cortland Ford got injured. He didn't really play much the second half of the season. Haskins was really the guy who had to hold this offensive line together on several occasions. If USC does not make that Bobby Haskins pickup in the transfer portal, this team does not win 11 games. So you would think that at least one of those 5 Alabama offensive linemen would be a target for Josh Henson and Lincoln Riley. And then, of course, on the defensive line, Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher, there have been some transfers along that defensive front. And of course, Josh Henson is an offensive line coach, but he used to be at A&M under Jimbo. So he might be able to have a connection there to get one of those D linemen from A&M. So those are, I think, a couple of the plot points that USC fans should be following relative to the transfer portal. And I think Tim Prangley mentioned, Raylan Goforth leaving and Justin Flo coming in. Sounds like a workable scenario to me. And USC got Travis Dye last year, so maybe Justin Flo is the Oregon Impact transfer this year. Now, of course, Dye transferring out of Oregon, that was partly because you had Mario Cristobal going to Miami, and now you have Dan Lanning, different dynamic. So it could be a different situation in terms of that. Also, of course, Travis Dye has family and he has roots in Southern California. So that was a factor in his decision. But nevertheless, Justin Flo should definitely be on USC's radar. I know he's not a defensive lineman, but still, in terms of fortifying defense, that is certainly important. If we're going to position groups beyond offensive, defensive line, it's linebackers because, well, we saw how bad USC was at tackling, and you need linebackers who are going to make tackles. Like you can't, and this goes to one of the points that you've made over the course of the season, Mark, that if Bryson Shaw is recording a lot of tackles in the secondary, it means that the linebackers aren't making as many tackles as they should be. So I would say ultimately defensive line number 1, offensive line 1A, basically. Like you got to get both of those. You have to have great results stocking up on your 2 lines, and then linebacker would be number 3. If USC can make great gains at those 3 position groups, but especially along the lines, you can feel pretty good about what this team has coming in 2023 with, Caleb Williams back for another year, a very deep receiver core back for another year. Those are the 3 position groups to look at.
And while, of course, the transfer portal is more about 2023 specifically, as we also near National Signing Day, that's about future years. And starting in 2024, that means life in the Big Ten, and linebackers are more at a premium in regards to their worth and their value against running games in the Big Ten.